Well, good morning, everyone. Mayor Wilder here from the City of North Canton with our weekly update, information, and general comments on what's happening in North Canton and in our community. I want to thank Nancy B. for my new face mask. I appreciate that. And I think I got a couple more coming from my sister-in-law, Molly, down in Florida. So I appreciate that, and it's comfortable and it's working well for me. Thank you very much. Well, again, good morning, and thank you for allowing me to share this time with you. I've been doing a lot of thinking here this last week and reflecting on the happenings that have been happening for the last few months for us in the city and things that are in our country and in our community. When you think back a few months ago, we were just starting this journey with navigating COVID-19 and grasping and understanding the dangers involved with this infectious disease. So, we've gone through our stay-at-home orders, our guidelines from the Ohio Department of Health, Governor Mike DeWine's office, our leadership there, and then, of course, our CDC mandates and guidelines, and again, things coming from the Office of the President and Homeland Security. So a lot of things have transpired over these last few months as we began the first phases of trying to protect and prevent the spread of the coronavirus. When you think about the physical distancing that we have, all the hand washing, personal sanitation, and hygiene safeguards that we've been practicing now, I think they have really certainly paid off. I can't thank our community enough for taking those upon themselves and protecting themselves and others. We talk about canceling family and community functions and the connections that we've have missed maybe through our faith communities and in our festivals and our parades and our races. Those are some tough decision-making moments for me, but also in conjunction with all the people that were involved in these things. I didn't make them arbitrarily. I reached out to them for good discussion and shared guidance. We felt it would be best to continue in protecting ourselves and having to eliminate our fairs and some of our very special events. But there's been so much good things that have come out of this. The amount of volunteers that have come out for our food pantries, primarily through our churches, on a weekly and daily and monthly basis has been phenomenal. I've had the opportunity to work with Faith United Methodist Church on many times on bagging and food, and then going to Crystal Park United Methodist over in Canton and handing out bags of food to families in need. And what a rewarding experience, not only to help them, but just working with other people, knowing that we have a share in common and cause to help each other get through this time of trial and tribulations. I can't thank them enough. When you look at all the volunteers, think of the innovative ways we have found to communicate with each other. For us, it's led us from a dial-in phone call to doing a Zoom meetings. And I'm sure many of you by now, whether you're in business or just in family, whether you're FaceTiming or just doing a Zoom meeting or conversations, we're still staying connected and continuing to do good things for our community. And it's opened up new ideas for us, even remote work operations for many of us, whether in public service or private industry or you're in your own business. It's led us to take a closer look at our own health assessments, and that was that was an interesting process there. Just going through that. And just maintaining our city operations and keeping our parks and recreations open and protecting our employees. I can't thank the public enough for doing what you have done and using our online services for building permits or utilities or connections with the police or fire department, parks and recreation. I can't thank the ladies out here in our administrative staff. They have handled the phone calls wonderfully in explaining why we can't do some things for them, but also things that are available that we can help people. And you know what? 99.9% of the people have all been very understanding and cooperative with for our administrative specialists and assistants that we have here, handling many of the phone calls from you. And thank you again for that. Uh, you know, another thing that when I'm out and about in our grocery stores and shops now, and more so when we even at the stay home, I was out trying to see how things were operating. I'm finding that there's a sense of cordiality or courtesy a little bit more extended now with the physical distancing and a courtesy of allowing someone else go down the aisle before you or checking out before you. And there's a sense of patience there. And that's something that I've observed, and I appreciate that, seeing that happening for us. Hey, when you think about the North Canton Middle School, I can only think now about the lunch ladies and the volunteers and staff that have been over there since the coronavirus took effect and closed our schools down. They're averaging about 900 meals a day for our student and families, and that's going to continue on through the summer, 5 days a week, 9 to 1. For a breakfast and a snack during the day it's just phenomenal what they're doing, and they do it with a smile. They do it because they love it. They love helping and serving our community. What is just a wonderful feeling to have. And of course, we've had going through our gradual openings now for our businesses and our organizations, our travel. I can see that's picking up a little bit more, people coming and going, and gradually, finally having an opportunity to go into some of our assisted living, to reach out to our senior citizens and reconnect over those months of separation, to have that relationship rekindled, and that's something else. There's so much going on that have been good too, and one of the highlights of my term as mayor was actually being a part and monitoring the graduation ceremonies and process for our graduating class of 2020, our senior class. What a challenge they have gone through. And most of all, when you think about the principals, their teachers, and their staff, what they did in immediately knowing that in the next day or two after the school was canceled, they had plans and processes in place to help the kids complete their studies and be able to graduate on time with a proper accreditation and scholastic achievements so recognized. They did a phenomenal job. And to be there on the nights where they were getting their cap and gown and a pint of ice cream, you know what? The parents came through and said, thank you. We know, we wish we could have done more, but they were thankful, and the kids had a smile on it. And when they came through for their yearbooks and their graduation materials, some of them were dressed in their cap and gown, driving, their parents were there, and their friends were there, and other family members. It really was a rewarding experience, and it was just a wonderful thing to see them complete their scholastic journey this way. I was talking about schools from the governor, Dwayne's comments yesterday. The nice thing about it is our schools are going to be able to reopen this fall. Again, that is subject to the directions of guidelines from the Ohio Department of Education, but also it'll fall upon our administration at the North Canton City Schools, and as I understand it, through the Board of Education. So that guidance will come from there. But I think that'll take a little bit of a burden and an uncertainty off of us, knowing that our children will have an opportunity to go back into an educational setting and have a sense of normalcy to getting back into getting a quality education here in North Canton. I'm very thankful for that. Just a couple of more updates here for you. Our Dogwood Pool is still on schedule to reopen. We're still going through some maintenance things on it that we found. It was on schedule, but we want to make sure everything is operating for us. And the North Canton Ymca is handling any kind of questions about that. You can call them at 330-491-9622, and they'll be able to give you some guidance. And hopefully it won't be too long until we can get that pool up and running for our members and residents. Just so you know, tomorrow on June 4th, for our Price Park, the west parking lot is going to be repaved. That's the one on West Maple Street. So if you want to go down and use the parks, you can still use the east parking lot next to the pond, Price Park Pond, okay? So you can still use that. And also on the Glenwood side of Price Park, that will be blocked off. We have a repaving project going on for both of those tomorrow. And again, that's weather permitting, but hopefully we'll be okay. Going back to the YMCA, they've opened now, June 1st, and they have some modified hours. They are opening now at 5 a.m. in the morning. If you have questions on membership, just call them at 330-499-2587. Talking with Ben Widler, the director, lap swimming is going to start June 8th under some other guidelines. They're going to start some limited groups exercise classes, including water fitness week of June, possibly June 8th. So both of those weeks, they'll have some things opening up for them. Good news is they have a day camp that they'll be able to operate this summer at the North Canton Middle School. So that's the new location. If you call that 499-2587 number again, they'll be able to help you with a membership or signing up for that. Or you can just go to their website and register your child there. And that goes for grades 1st through 8th grade. So I wish them well with that. And again, giving our children an opportunity to have some fun and have some personal growth, through the summer. Their child care is operating. They still have some spots for preschool to kindergarten at the child care center. So those families who need some help with child care while they're getting back to work, the Y is a great resource for you. And here's some good news for today. For June 3rd, this Wednesday, our North Canton drive-through farmers market is going to start. Hopefully the weather will hold out for us. That's going to be from 3 to 7 today. It's going to be up at the old Kmart property, 1447 North Main Street. And I'm very excited for our partners with that, Jenna and Ryan Groschmidt, who have been organizing this. And I believe now we can also conduct it with physical distancing as a walkthrough. But we'll know more when we get up there, okay? Things have changed rapidly for us here. And I just want you to know this is sanctioned as an essential business through the Ohio Department of Health, the Governor DeWine. We've had it approved by the Ohio Department of Agriculture and also approved through the Stark County Health Department. So I'm very excited. It's just going to be produce, okay? But it'll give our farmers an opportunity to have another outlet to sell their products, but also for our residents or visitors to our city to get some new and fresh products. So good luck to them. I'll be up there and to see people. So let's pray for good weather, okay? There was one more thing here I wanted to share with you. I double checked for the Ohio stay at home or the continued closures. Folks, our playgrounds are still closed. We just have not had any direction. And I know other communities have their playgrounds closed. So we're not the only one. I'm asking you and families to please honor the signs that we have there. We don't want you down there exposing yourself to any more risk of possibly receiving or contracting the COVID-19 virus. So just so you know that unfortunately our playgrounds are still closed. Again, I'd like to congratulate the North Canton Hoover High School graduating class of 2020. Their senior year and especially these last few months have certainly been challenging, but hopefully yet rewarding with the help of their teachers, principals, staff, and volunteers to make their graduation as much as a personal scholastic experience that could be. Just go and represent to the world all the great things you've been given. And remember, North Canton is your home. and we are very, very proud of you. If you'll please bear with me, I'd like to take a different direction in my address today, and this is in response to excuse me, this is in response to some of the inquiries we're getting from our constituents or our stakeholders or our residents in our community. And I wanted to share some thoughts that I have on some of the recent events that have been occurring in our country or in our county. And as probably you know where I'm going. I'd like to start off with this statement or comment that I read once in a book from Stephan. It goes, "Trust is the highest form of human intention. It brings out the very best in people." Folks, in regards to the current events, I want to share some thoughts I have on this. Nothing is more important during these challenging times than the health, safety, and welfare of our community. Navigating the COVID-19 pandemic has been a work in progress. This certainly is no ordinary time for us. We have seen people giving their time to assist and care for others, working on the front lines. We have made donations of goods and services to provide and protect those in need, and we have had opportunities to serve and volunteer to help our fellow friends and neighbors. And as I have mentioned, thank you to the faith-based organizations that have reached out to our community and outside of our community to help whatever they can with clothing, food, employment direction, and just moral support in such a trying time that we have been experiencing. I can't thank them enough. Just as we were restarting to regain a sense of normalcy, productivity, togetherness, and livelihood, tragedy and trauma has engulfed our society, our country, our communities, our families, and our consciousness. The death of George Floyd while in police custody and witnessed throughout our country and the world is absolutely horrific and inhumane. While we do not want to rush to judgment, but we do want to speak against acts of injustice. As we witness the response to this killing around the country, we are once again faced with the past and present racism, hate, mistrust, and selfishness. From this single incident, anger and sorrow sucks the life out of communities everywhere. The violence surrounding injustice holds victims, families, friends, and neighborhoods hostage. It rips communities apart and prevents them from coming together. I have spoken with a number of people in law enforcement. We are absolutely sickened by what we saw and what we've had to witness that occurred in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I cannot begin to comprehend the difficult conversations fathers and mothers are having with each other and their children who are in minorities and those that aren't. I cannot fathom the conversations any of you are having to have amongst yourselves or with your children. And again, especially in minorities. How are they trying to process the hurt and injustice that has transpired and the memories that have stirred as a result of citizen police contacts? Folks, there are more upright, honest, compassionate police officers who have watched this unbearable video, who are simply sickened by what they have seen. It is unbelievable that officers did not say or do something to his pleas for help. For the law enforcement officers and organizations of our country who lament with dashed hopes that they must start again to rebuild what meager trust they have hoped to have achieved, I hope that is not the case here. For any of you who do not know my background, I was a police officer for 36 years for the city of North Canton. I had the privilege to serve as chief of police for almost 6 years. So here I am as mayor for a city, but I also, part of my fabric is still being and carrying as a law enforcement officer. So my next comments are intermingled. I know I have a responsibility as a mayor, but I also have what I have in my heart for public service that I had chosen as a police officer. Your police department and the city administration have received questions, concerns, and what training and skills our safety forces have in dealing with crisis situations and the general public safety practices. From my experience as a 36-year police officer and having the privilege to serve 6 years as chief of police, I focused on how we can become a high-performance law enforcement organization. First was our mission. I believe that our mission statement has been since the early 2000s. The North Canton Police Department is committed to protect and serve the public with fairness, impartiality, and respect in accordance with the law, with the goal of making the city of North Canton a safe and desirable place to live, work, and visit. Second, my focus was on hiring the right people with common sense, the willingness to learn and listen, highly motivated, highly productive, people who have the courage to face the demands of the decision-making that comes along with this job and the dangers of the profession, but also the sense of compassion for their fellow man. Thirdly, reform the management culture. The goal was to move from a spectrum of control and compliance to one of coordination and performance. Use and know the resources of the people that I am hiring, or we have hired. Harness their knowledge. Use their skills and abilities of having the right people and let them perform as so stated in our mission statement. Fourth was just mastering the art and science of policing. That's the core of what we do every day. As retired General Colin Powell and former Secretary of State, there was a time where he said, you do the right things the right way at the right time. And that's what I always believe for us to be doing. We do the right things at the right time for the right reasons. In law enforcement, the one big thing in public safety is really to reduce crime and maintain order. If you'll bear with me, I just want to share with you the vision of our law enforcement to effectively respond to the evolving challenges created by a growing community that continues to maintain a low crime rate and high quality of life. To deliver policing that responds to the needs of the community and engages them to share in the responsibility of keeping North Canton a great community. The North Canton Police Department is a professional organization continually seeking opportunities to serve our community through crime prevention involving education, followed by implementation, perfecting the efficiency of our police department operations, and providing excellent customer service. It's been a long time in law enforcement, and it is so appreciative when you have someone call up and give you a compliment. But also, you know what? We respond to complaints if someone felt that they weren't treated right. And we look at those things very closely and clearly so that we come to a positive resolution, either for the officer performance or just the clarification of an understanding of what transpired involving that officer. You know, we have fundamental values: integrity, community trust, communications, employee trust, problem solving, and leadership. When you think about integrity, we believe in acting honestly, ethically, legally, and morally, and making wise and informed decisions. Folks, if we make a mistake, we admit it. We take corrective measures and accept responsibility for our actions and our own problems. We work only for the public good and toward the accomplishment of the departmental mission, never seeking personal action by advantage, never seeking personal advantage. But by action, we exemplify all the department values. Just the other day, we had a young man that was walking along Main Street, and he was a young black male. But for whatever reason, he was walking down our street, in fact, right in front of City Hall, and he had what appeared to be a gun in his hand. And it was, from my point of view, it was a black 9mm semi-automatic handgun. In fact, I was calling the police department, alerting them that this person was right outside my office. And already we had a cruiser in route to that. I no sooner got off the phone, this young man came over, sat on the patio here between us and the library. Our officer, Sergeant Henry, did an excellent job, gave out verbal commands, told the young man to keep his hands where he can be seen, walked up to him, made contact with him, took him under control without any incident, all the time verbalizing his commands, seeking voluntary compliance, which the young man did. As investigation continued with that young man in custody, here we found it was a pellet gun. But folks, it looked like a real gun. And our officers proceeded and acted quickly, smartly, and efficiently in de-escalating a situation that could have become a tragedy, not only for us, but for that young man. As we found out, he was a runaway out of a neighboring township, and he also had a warrant for his arrest. My point is, in a matter of seconds, our officer took in everything that he was seeing and observing. And through his training and his understanding how to approach someone like this and taking control of it very quickly and expeditiously and commandingly, prevented an incident that could have been a tragedy for all of us. And I can't thank him enough for that. Well, I've talked to you again about our fundamentals: community trust, communications, employee trust, problem solving, and leadership. Those are all things that we adhere to. Some people have asked us, what kind of training have we had in dealing with de-escalating situations? And I'd like to share with you, way back under Chief Grimes' tenure as Chief of Police, it was in 2004 that the Stark County Crisis Intervention Center started a program with Carol Vesley as director. And it was crisis intervention training for law enforcement professionals in our community. So gradually, we were able to get one or two officers over a few years to that training. And we felt that it was important that our officers needed those skills to help them in everyday contact with the public, especially when you're dealing with people who may have special challenges. So when I became chief, I made it a point that I wanted every officer to be certified and go through this 40-hour training. And we gradually did it over time. And to this day, in talking with Chief Kemp, over 90% of our 25-person law enforcement police officers have received the 40-hour training course, if not here, also in the academy. But we also I wanted more local through here. And so because we just had 2 recently new hired officers, and due to COVID, the last class was canceled. So our goal is to have 100% of our officers trained in crisis intervention training. Also, proudly to say, our dispatchers, we have 11 dispatchers, 8 full-time, 3 part-time, and all but 2, and again, those are the 2 new recently hired, have not only had CIT training, but emergency medical dispatching training. So my compliments to Chief Kem and for making sure those trainings are continuing. But so you understand, the reason we have our officers trained to help in de-escalating situations, it's just helping people in crisis and mental illness or suffering from substance abuse. Again, it's to not only increase their safety, but our safety too. And to help increase the feeling of safety in our general community. And there again, to make mental health and drug and alcohol systems more understandable. And we are getting people to use, let me just say this, we have organizations more acceptable to law enforcement to help people get to and divert them who might be suffering from a mental illness or substance use disorders or something of that form, and not to put them in jail. We want to avoid incarceration. We understand that sometimes people need more help than is being offered to them. Just so you know, as I said, since 2004, Stark County CIT training program certified hundreds of officers and first responders. It's a comprehensive 40-hour course that's been provided twice each calendar year. And law enforcement officers are selected by their chiefs, sheriff, or other designees to attend this training. And participants should be volunteers and ideally should have good communication and interpersonal skills. And the goal of law enforcement agencies is to have a minimum of 25% of their first responders trained. As I said before, 90% of our officers are trained, and the other 2 will be on schedule soon. I felt they needed these skills early in their career. I didn't believe we had to wait until someone had their year probation completed, because I learned the hard way to a certain degree. I learned from my mistakes and how to handle some situations and how to help people along the way. And I took that course before I retired. And I know what it's like. And I know the volunteers who helped put it on, but I know the benefits of giving our officers some skills to protect themselves and take care of the well-being of other people that we come in contact with. I can't thank them enough for what they're doing. And just so you know, in our community of Stark County, over 21 law enforcement agencies have had trained personnel, and also in our campus securities at Walsh University, University of Mount Union, Stark State College, and Kent Stark University. I know that's a wide picture, but this is how far our community has taken to try to take steps to provide help for our citizens and to provide their safety and to protect them and treat them fairly. You know, law enforcement officers are public servants. We're not public enemies. I'm sorry, I said we. From my career and continue on, I believe that police officers are public servants, and they're not your enemies. They want to embrace public service for the greater good. And to some, that may be contrary to their beliefs. I talked about trust before. And some of you may know that I had a upbringing and in the scouting movement. And every early young man, whether you went through scouting or not, or completed it to the rank of Eagle, anyways, you know, we learned the scout oath and law. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. One of the most important things there that I learned was the first point of the scout law. A scout is trustworthy. A person tells the truth. He is honest and he keeps his promises. People can depend on him. I think that's being strained in our communities today is the lack of trust. And I understand that since 1619, as Ms. Gaucher wrote in her article in the Propository today, yes, it's been over 400 years that the first slaves came into our country. And our country is still battling to bring fairness and justice to all and equality to all. Law enforcement doesn't have the answer for everything. And this is more of a society issue. But we're a part of the solution, and we want to be a part of the solution. And that, words not backed by action are meaningless. And language is no replacement for being a trustworthy person. So, as we journey on through this chapter in our life, this I think is going to be this incident in Minneapolis. Again, we're going to bear the scars of this moment in history for a long time. So, all I'm asking is for our communities to stay together and work together to again address the issues of being kind to each other, as Dr. Acton said yesterday, being willing to help one another, and know that we in law enforcement in my career as law enforcement, we take an oath to support the Constitution and to defend the rights of all people. In closing, I'd like to just share something with you. Saturday, June the 6th, is D-Day, Remembrance, 76 years ago. It's a day of remembrance, awareness, and appreciation to all the people who fought in Normandy, France, to begin the defeat of the Nazis and reestablish freedom. And here again, unfortunately for Germany, the scars of this moment in history will linger on. But it's just not that country. I know what we have read how they have tried to rebuild and be a society, a noble society. Anyways, just remember that that day is a critical day for us to remember all of our fathers and grandfathers and grandmothers and mothers and women who have served in the armed forces to protect not only our freedom, but to help freedom in the world. So in closing, let me just say this. We have challenges ahead. And again, we're going to get through this, but we'll work together and we'll support one another. And we'll try to right some wrongs, the wrongs that have occurred in our society. And together, we're going to have to build. We continue to build and rebuild the trust. But I want the residents and the visitors and businesses in North Canton to know that this administration is one that is supportive in the fairness, impartiality, and respect of those who live, work, or visit here. And all I can say is thank you very much for your time and your willingness to allow me to share some thoughts, and know that we care so deeply for the safety and security. But we want you to stay healthy and stay well. And just remember, whatever you do, whenever you're about, this COVID-19 does not discriminate who you are or where you're from. It is a dangerous illness. And the precautions we are taking now hopefully will pay off in dividend, that we'll be able to live healthily for the future of our lives. So just stay safe, keep well. Thank you for your time. Good day.